In this class, we are going to study about the reproduction in Protista. So, we know that there are two basic types of reproduction, and the first one is asexual reproduction. So, the first thing to know about asexual reproduction is that this asexual reproduction involves a single parent. So normally whenever we are going to study about asexual reproduction, one thing to keep in mind is that only a single parent will be involved. And whenever we are going to study about sexual reproduction, we have to keep in mind that at least two parents would be involved. Normally in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved, but sometimes there could be a single parent, but that is exception. So in asexual reproduction, there would be only the involvement of a single parent, and in sexual reproduction, there would be involvement of at least two parents. So we are going to first study about the asexual reproduction in the case of Protista. So we have studied about other properties of Protista, and in this class, we are going to study about the asexual reproduction in Protista. So the first type of asexual reproduction or uniparental reproduction in the case of Protista is the binary fission. So binary fission is very simple. A parent cell divides into two or daughter cells, or a parent organism divides into two daughter organisms. So it's very simple. There would be a parent cell, it would divide into two daughter cells, and this is what is binary fission. So binary means two, and obviously fission means to cut or to divide. So the parent cell has been cut or divided through various means into two daughter organisms or two daughter cells. So binary fission could also occur in the case of planaria, but planaria is an animal, and we are gonna study in this class about protist. So binary fission could occur in multicellular organisms also, but since we are studying eukaryotes, that is, in eukaryotes we are studying the unicellular organisms, which are the protistans. So here, instead of saying two organisms, we can also say two cells, because the parent cell or the parent organism consists of one cell, and obviously the daughters are also of single cell. So instead of daughter organism, we can say daughter cells, because we are studying Protista, which is unicellular organisms, a category of. So in the case of higher organisms, whenever binary fission will take place, we will not say two daughter cells, we will say two daughter organisms, and here we are going to say two daughter cells are also correct, and also two daughter organisms are also correct. So binary fission takes place in almost or the most of the protistans. Binary fission does take place. For example, the dinoflagellates or the chrysophytes or amoeba or the euglenoids or the various other protozoans like the leishmania also. So there are various types of binary fission. For example, transverse binary fission, longitudinal binary fission, oblique binary fission. So these are different types of binary fission which we have to study in standard 12th first chapter. So binary fission is ultimately the division of a parent cell into two daughter cells over here. So we have seen the examples, that is amoeba, euglena, chrysophytes, and also the dinoflagellates. So next is the plasmotomy. Now before studying plasmotomy, we have to understand about the multiple fission. So this binary fission is the division of parent cell into two cells. Here the parent cell divides into multiple cells. For example, like this. Suppose this is the parent cell, and it gives rise to a lot of daughter cells. So there is a lot of daughter cells over here which have come from the parent cell, and this is what is multiple fission. So this process is called as multiple fission. So before understanding plasmotomy, we have to understand this phenomenon. So plasmotomy involves the division of parent cell into many daughter cells. So we can say that plasmotomy is a type of multiple fission, but we cannot say that totally, because in a binary fission or in the multiple fission, the number of nuclei is fixed. That is, here every cell will have equal number of nuclei as the parent cell. So suppose this parent has n nuclei, so every daughter cell will have n nuclei. So the number of nucleus in the parent cell and in the daughter cell will be the same. So every daughter cell will contain an equal number of nucleus as the parent. So this is what is occurring in the case of multiple fission. Obviously one parent cell is dividing into a lot of parent cell, but still every daughter cell nucleus is equal to the number of nucleus in the parent cell. This is what is occurring in multiple fission. But in the case of plasmotomy, this phenomenon is occurring that the number of daughter cells are a lot as compared to the binary fission. So in the case of plasmotomy also, the parent cell divides into a lot of daughter cells, but the number of nucleus is not fixed. So if we understand what is plasmotomy, then we have seen that multiple fission, the number of nucleus is conserved. That is, the number of nucleus in the parent is equal to the number of nucleus in each daughter cell. But in the case of plasmotomy, it is not certain. Any daughter cell can contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or any number of nucleus. So in case of plasmotomy, if we think this is plasmotomy, if we see that it is plasmotomy and the parent contains n number, so this n number is generally very high, because plasmotomy occurs in the case of multinucleate organisms. So multinucleate means that the parent cell does not contain one single nucleus, it could have hundreds of nucleus. So it is a division of multinucleate parent. So this parent cell will contain not just one nucleus, it will contain lots and lots of nucleus. So this is the case with the plasmotomy parent. So if this is the parent cell and it has a lots and lots of nucleus, not just one single nucleus, now the daughter cell's nucleus would not be fixed. Some daughters might have one nucleus, some might have 2, some might have 10, some might have 50. So the number of nucleus in daughter cells is not fixed in the case of plasmotomy. But in the case of multiple fission, the number of nucleus in the parent cell and in the daughter cell will be equal. But in the case of plasmotomy, the daughter cells could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 30, any number of nucleus. Daughter cells could have any number of nucleus starting from 1 to few. So here the number of nucleus in the daughter cells is not fixed. But in the case of multiple fission, we had seen that the number of nucleus in the parent and the daughter cells were equal. Here we have n number of nucleus. We have n number and any number of nucleus could be present in the daughter cells. So this is what is occurring in the case of plasmotomy. Now we have to see the example where it does takes place. So it normally takes place in Opelina and Pilomixa. Now this Opelina and Pilomixa both are protozoans. So in our later classes we are going to study that this Opelina and Pilomixa both are protozoans. That is, they come under that category of protist which are similar to the animals or which are the ancestor of animals. So in these categories this plasmotomy occurs. So as a result the daughter cells have 1 to few nuclei. We have seen here. So the daughter cells could have 1, 2, 3 or any number of nuclei. Now we have to see that nuclear division will later occur. Why that will later occur? Because it has to maintain the number of nuclei like the parent. So suppose a daughter cell contains less number of nucleus as compared to the parent. So the nucleus of that daughter cell will divide again and again until it has equal number of nucleus as the parent. So this is what is occurring in the case of plasmotomy. So suppose the parent has 50 nucleus. Suppose this n is equal to 50 nucleus. And now here we have 2 nucleus. So these 2 nucleus will keep on dividing 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 and likewise the other divisions will take place until the number of nucleus reaches 50. Likewise here, if the number of nucleus in the daughter cell is 4 and in the parent it is 50, then the 4 nucleus will keep on dividing until their number reaches the parental cell number. So this is what is occurring in the case of plasmotomy. So we can say that plasmotomy is a type of multiple fission, or we can say that plasmotomy is a variation or is a modification of this multiple fission. So multiple fission and binary fission both are a type of fission, and also we have to study about the differences in the case of binary fission and multiple fission. But in standard 12th first chapter, that is reproduction in organisms, there we have to study about fission and every type of reproduction in total detail. So we are going to study about the other details of plasmotomy or multiple fission or binary fission in your standard 12th classes. Now the other type of reproduction in the case of protist is the sporulation. So sporulation means spore formation. So instead of sporulation, we can also write here spore formation. So it involves the formation of spore. So spores are what? Spores are single-celled, thick-walled propagules. Now we have to understand the meaning of these three terms, that is single-celled, thick-walled propagules, dispersal, perennation. Now we have to understand the meaning of these terms. So as you know, single-celled means it consists of one cells. So the spores which are being formed in the process of sporulation are single celled. They are just one celled in appearance or in composition. Now that cell has thick wall. This is an important point. That is, the spores have thick wall. And why they do have thick wall? Because they help in the survival during unfavorable condition. So when spore has formed, it could be that the conditions might be unfavorable. So to survive in the unfavorable condition, these spores have thick wall. Now these are propagules. So what is the meaning of propagules? The meaning of propagules is that it helps in propagation. That is, it is a technical term for reproduction, that is from one generation to new generation. So these spores are a means to create a new generation. That is what is meant by propagules. So these spores will ultimately form new organisms. And when will they form? When they will find suitable conditions like food, moisture, temperature, light, and if all these conditions are favorable for the organism, only then the spores will germinate. And what is the function of the spores? Dispersal and perennation. Now dispersal means spreading to newer areas or spreading to newer places. So where the spore formation has occurred, from there the spores have to travel to different places through air or through various other means. So this is meant by dispersion or dispersal. That is, the spores will be carried from its site of formation to various other places. And in dispersal, before dispersal, we have to see that these spores are formed in something called as sporangia, or various different types of spores are there. For example, oidea or chlamydiospores or zoospores or oospores or zygospores or the various types like conidia. So we have to study about the various different type of spores in the topic fungi. That is, after protista, we are going to study about fungi. So spore formation mainly takes place in the fungi. Most various types of spores are normally present in the kingdom fungi. So the most primitive ancestor of fungi is the Protista. And which one in Protista? It is the slime molds. So we can see here that these slime molds are forming spores mainly. And why these are forming? Because these are the ancestor of fungi. So in fungi we are going to study about at least 5 to 7 type of spores. So normally these are the ancestor of fungi. So obviously these will have the properties or similar properties like fungi. So this is about the spores. So the spores germinate on return of favorable conditions. So what is meant by favorable conditions? Proper food, light, moisture, temperature, all should be available, and that condition will be called as favorable. Now perennation. Perennation means survival in unfavorable conditions. That is meant by perennation. So this was about the sporulation. When we will study about kingdom fungi, we are going to study about this sporulation in total detail. There also we have to study about this sporulation process. Now it occurs in slime molds. These slime molds are the ancestor of fungi. Now other type of asexual reproduction is cyst formation. Now this also takes place in various organisms, and the most common one is the amoeba, and also there are certain other organisms. So this cyst formation involves something like this. Suppose this is a normal cell in normal condition. When the condition will become unfavorable, so what is occurring here? This is during favorable condition. When the condition become unfavorable, then this cell will secrete a various thick walled 3-layered structure. So this is the cell, and here it has secreted a thick wall, which is normally 1 to 3 layered. Generally it is 3 layered. So this 3-layered thick wall will protect it during the unfavorable condition. So when the conditions are favorable, the cell will have normal no cyst, but during unfavorable condition it will form the cyst. And this is the cyst wall. This 3-layered is the cyst wall. Now when the conditions will again become favorable, then cyst wall will break down, and here inside a multiple fission or plasmotomy or various sporulation could occur. So this cyst formation is involved with multiple fission and also sporulation, because inside the cell, inside the cysted cell, what will happen? Multiple fission or sporulation or both could occur. So when the conditions will become again favorable, these spores or the new cells will germinate to produce newer organisms. So when the condition will become again favorable, what will happen? This cyst wall will break down. So cyst wall formation occurred during unfavorable condition. During favorable, it will again break down. And after this cyst wall breakdown, what will happen? Inside the cell, either multiple fission or spore formation, both could occur. So this cyst formation is normally associated with the sporulation or multiple fission. So when the cyst wall will break down, something like this, the inside spores which are formed here So these are the spores which have been formed, and these will be liberated. These spores will come out through the wall, and these spores will form newer organisms. So all these processes are, especially this sporulation, plasmotomy, cyst formation, are very much linked with each other, because during cyst formation this multiple fission or sporulation occurs, and this plasmotomy is also a modification of this multiple fission, and this multiple fission or binary fission are different types of fission. So we have seen that all these 5 types of reproduction of or the asexual reproduction are very much linked to each other and very much similar to each other. So it is not that in a single organism only plasmotomy will occur, or it is not sure that in a single organism only cyst formation will occur. In a single organism there could be binary fission, there could be multiple fission, there could be cyst formation. So it is not for sure that in a single organism only a single type of only a single type of reproduction can occur. In an organism multiple types of reproduction can occur, as we have seen in the case of amoeba. We see that in amoeba what is happening, that is the multiple fission. Also we have binary fission in amoeba, and also we see that the cyst formation will occur in the amoeba. Apart from that, amoeba can also show sporulation. So we see that in a single amoeba various types of reproduction could occur. So these are the normal types of asexual reproduction that occur in the case of Protista. So after this asexual reproduction, the type of reproduction that we have to study is the sexual reproduction. So now we are going to start sexual reproduction in Protist.